All right, let's go live. Here we go. We are now live with my man Warren, and we are not doing talk
I'm not
blog. Hi, how are you doing, Warren?
testing.
I can hear you fine. Can you hear me?
What the hell is going on?
I don't know. I can hear you fine. Thumbs up if you can hear me. Can you hear me, Warren? We can hear you. All right, I'm going to call you
Testing.
back. Not a problem, Facebook.
Can you
We
hear me?
are, I can. Facebook, we are live
Because I
with
can't hear
Warren,
you.
and we are excited. I don't know why, Warren. Um,
Okay, try. And now you're frozen.
nope, here we go. Can you
Gotcha.
hear me?
Yes.
Awesome. Hello, everybody. Welcome to IITG Season Sisters Speak. I am your host, Victorianne Russell Walton, two-time breast cancer survivor, health educator, wife, mom, child of God, warrior, fighter, ADHD recovery, hyper child of God, and Leonard and Daisy, all those titles I hold. And Warren is going to introduce you. Warren, tell them all about you.
Hi, my name is Warren. I'm a food scientist. I specialize in food safety. I'm a one time cancer survivor. I've never been in remission. I was diagnosed in 2005 and,
They have questions
and
already. That is awesome.
okay. Well, I'm ready.
Well, we're going to dive into it. So, we're going to talk this week about diabetes and de stressing. We know that it's Thanksgiving, but we also know it's a little different this year because we're not together. So, because we're not together, people are upset, they're stressed out, they're stress eating. And as a diabetic, this is definitely a crucial time. We know that carbs are not your friends. We know that sugar's not your friends. We know sodas are not your. Well, look, everything ain't your friend when you're a diabetic. But there are some things you can do to lower your A1Cs and your glucose. Okay, so I'm Victorian Russell Walton. You are listening to IITG Season Sister Speak. To everybody that's on the call, and we have quite a few people, please inbox your questions. We are definitely paying attention. Thank you for tuning in today. You could be anywhere, but you're with us today. Hi, Mika. Hi, Kim. Mika and Kim are always on the call as my backup. So I appreciate them and love them very much. So thank you too for tuning in. And everybody else, we want to share this. We want you to share, and we know that our biggest audience comes in afterwards when those who are sitting at home with nothing to do share the video, and the contents are great. So we appreciate everyone sharing. We appreciate everybody supporting. So we're going to talk about today diabetes and controlling diabetes. So what I did was I took questions already. But if you have questions, I'm listening. But we took questions already, and we're going to dive into it. So um, we have, hi, everybody. So we have questions starting with, what do we do, Warren, during the holidays about stress eating? All right, so hold on. Before we get started, let me put this clause in. I am not a doctor. Warren is not a doctor. I keep going the wrong way. Warren's that way. Warren's not a doctor. What we are is experts in our own field. I'm certified as a health chronic disease educator, and Warren has already given you his certificates. I could give you my list of credentials, but a physician, we are not. Okay, so we're telling you what we know. And as a diabetic, I'm telling you what has worked and what I know for me. Next week, hopefully, I can get Dr. Lenora Coleman, who's one of the leading endocrinologists in the world under Dr. Gavin, on the show to answer questions. But for today is Warren and I, and I'm excited because we get to do one-on-ones. So again, ask your questions. Even if you're not a diabetic, you need to be asking about eating healthy because, hey, we're up against round two against COVID and flu. And we all know the flu Right, Warren, mutates every year. So the flu that we were fighting last year is not the flu we're fighting this year. Different mutation, a different one. All right. So we're going to talk about right now sugars. So we've talked about this before, but for those of you who are new, Warren has discussed what sugars we can use to supplement and to replace. I use raw sugar, brown cane raw sugar. Warren, what say you?
Yeah, but let's dig a little deeper into what happens with. I'm a cause and effect person,
Mm-hmm.
so I think about what caused this the thing anyway. The doctors usually say, well, they don't know. I have 8 siblings. 3 of them are diabetic.
Mm-hmm.
My brother, we know he's diabetic because they depressed. He had an immune uh, 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 deficiency of immune disease that they had to compromise his immune system, and so his diabetes was chemically induced. I hear a lot of people say, well, they have type 2 diabetes, but my mother had type 2, my father, it's in my family. Well, it's in your family because you did the same things that were not really what you should be doing. You have to eat a little different. Here's what usually happens, and here's what my understanding, and this is just a theory of how your digestive system works. You have enzymes in your saliva, period, that start breaking down fat and carbohydrates. And when it breaks it down, and then your stomach and intestines breaks it down further. When you sit at the table and eat, and then you wash it down, you're not giving the enzymes in your saliva an opportunity to break this down. You're leaving all that responsibility on your liver, which can't handle it, so it'll farm it out to other parts of your body until it can handle it. That's my theory of diabetes. And when you do that continually, it becomes chronic.
Hmm.
So it's correctable. Just like what our mothers used to say, chew your food. They're absolutely right. And you shouldn't ever drink anything. And at any restaurant you go, they'll give you something to wash your food down. You should
Mm-hmm.
never do that, particularly when you're drinking carbohydrate, when you're consuming carbohydrates, because and now we have a high fructose corn syrup, which they think is responsible for a lot of the rise in type 2 diabetes, because that gets all the way to your liver, and that's the only place where it can be processed. That's,
Isn't that something? Okay.
yes, high fructose corn syrup. And it's in everything now. It's in all the sodas. If you look, you'll see. And now you'll see labeling that says it does not contain high fructose corn syrup. Look for that. It's in ketchup, it's in everything. It's in baby food. It's just in everything. I don't think it's viable, but they had to do that, and there's a whole lot of reasons. I have a whole lot of opinions on why that is and what happened, and it actually involves systemic racism. So I won't get into that. I'm just saying that chew your food, make sure, and try to go maybe 30 days without drinking water or soda at your meal. Chew your food good and digest it, then take a sip of water. And mostly, or tea or whatever you're gonna take. I like to get some vitamin C in there or something, or some antioxidant in my beverage. So my
Mhm.
body's always getting something to help.
Okay. That's great. And what I always tell people too, if you have to have something to drink, make sure that it's room temperature. You don't want to drink anything cold. You want to drink room temperature drinks. And that's to help flush things down the pipe, if you will. So you want to make sure that you're not drinking cold. Cold will clog things up. It's just like if you pour grease down your sink. If you pour cold water behind the grease, it will clog up. If you pour warm water behind the grease, it will flow a little better. You still will have some residue on the pipes, but at least it will flow through a little better than drinking something cold. So, and we're getting questions. So, thank you so much. Okay. Oh, wow. Lots of questions coming in. I'm putting something on. That's great. So, Warren, someone says you're absolutely right about the water intake. So, try to go 30 days, like Warren said. And you also know if you do things after 30 days, you can break that habit. So, if you can make it 30 days, you can break that habit. And hi, everybody. I'm definitely paying attention to your questions. I see your questions. Thank you so much. And we're going to get to your questions. I promise you. Not all of them, but the ones I can that I've already asked. So, Warren, we have lots of questions when it comes to Thanksgiving. So, that's something I really want to cover when it comes to diabetes and Thanksgiving. Having supplement meals. If you're home by yourself and you're used to cooking, 20 turkeys and candy yams and pies and things, you can make small amount of foods, and if you want to donate it, that's another good thing. But Warren, they're asking about sweet potatoes. Is sweet potato a good vegetable to eat, and what are the significant values?
Sweet potatoes is probably an excellent food. It has high fiber. It has uh, the color of it means that it's protecting you from all sorts of cancers and everything else. Sweet potatoes is a great food. George Washington Carver proved that, by the way. That's one of the great black farmers this country's ever produced. But nevertheless, sweet potatoes should be part of your diet. In fact, I would suggest sweet potatoes before white potatoes all the time.
Oh, okay. Okay, that's good to
It's
know.
gonna have the nutrients that you need. It's got a whole lot more nutrients and stuff. The only thing that sweet potatoes doesn't have that white potatoes has is potassium. But you can pick up potassium a whole lot other places. I would suggest and what I like to do is every year I do what I call optimizing. And I
Mhm.
use it. I usually do it in January after we get through the Thanksgiving, all of the Thanksgiving and Christmas holidays. I optimize. That's where I change my diet. I get down to the bare essentials. I get X amount of protein, X amount of carbs, X amount of everything, and I try to do all the right things, and I try to do it for 30 days. And if it goes well, I do it for 60 days. I have the benefit of, because I'm a cancer survivor, I see my oncologist quarterly. I get my blood work quarterly. So I'm
Mhm.
able to look at my blood work. And I always suggest that when you get your lab samples, get a copy of it, go online and Google it and learn what they're talking about. You need to know if you have my philosophy is if you have a disease, you need to know as much about this disease as your doctor by the time you finish. You have nothing but time. You have to know. Because if your doctor doesn't know how you got a disease, how can he tell you how to fix it? You don't even know how to protect yourself. So I'm saying you can look at your diet
So, Mika.
and see what's causing your problem.
Yeah. So that's great. Speaking of lab work, that was one of the questions we have. And for those of you just tuning in, you're tuning in to IITG Season Sister Speak. I'm Victorianne Russell Walton, and I have the world famous Warren Green here with me. And we're discussing not only immune building, but diabetes. This is Diabetes Awareness Month. So we're trying to educate you or someone you may love, or even if you don't have diabetes, just a better way of living and a better way of eating. So you speaking about lab work. So let's segue into a couple of questions we have about that. You often speak about learning your disease and know what your disease is. With the upcoming vaccine, what are your thoughts on the vaccine and what do we do to build our immune system for it?
Well, I believe that vaccines are really uh, immunotherapy.
Uh-huh.
Personally, I think that's what it is, because what it's doing is training your body to understand the disease. The thing with cancer is your body doesn't know what it is. It's encountering these these cancer cells, and it doesn't recognize that it's alien. Because if you get an alien cell in you, your body immediately attacks it,
Attacks
T
it.
cells
Yeah.
and everything else. So if your body doesn't, so what immunotherapy is they draw some of your blood and they teach it about these alien cells, cancer cells, and puts it back into you, and then your body now reacts. It starts making antibodies and everything else, and that's how it is. I believe that these vaccines are the very same thing. But it'll be a while before this vaccine gets out there. Now they're talking about it, that it won't even be cleared by the FDA before January. So we don't even have to worry about that. And then I don't even know when we will start receiving it. So I wouldn't think that. I think the best possible thing you can do for yourself is to
Uh-huh.
strengthen your immune system now. Strengthen it with food. Worry about the vaccines later. That'll be gravy because you're going to have to. All the vaccines in the world are not going to work if your diet is wrong.
Right. 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 And when you say strengthen it with food, why don't you give us some examples on what we should be eating or not eating to build
Okay.
our immune? I mean,
The
Mickey says she
American
loves sweet potato. I love sweet potatoes too. So that's
sweet
one of my
potatoes.
favorites.
Sweet potatoes is excellent food. Now, I'm a cancer survivor, so I'm going to quote what they say. The American Institute for Cancer Research promotes a plant-based diet. Last time we talked about the Mediterranean diet, and I love that diet because it has all kind of options that you could use. You can put,
Mhm.
you could put, it includes a little dairy and red meat. I know around the holidays you're going to eat your macaroni and cheese, which I absolutely think is a bad idea. Nevertheless, but I know that it's hard to get away from dairy,
It
and
is.
and and, and the problem is right around 1996 the FDA allowed a steroid, a synthetic steroid, to be injected into these cows to produce more milk. And the problem with that is that when the milking got very sensitive to the cows, so they used antibiotics, penicillin,
Mhm.
to mitigate the damage that the steroids the growth hormone did. So if you got organic milk, you wouldn't get that in there. But where are you going to get it? I suggest that you don't need dairy in your diet at all. Period. Particularly African Americans, because we there's no substance, there's no way to get dairy into your diet. We're the only species on earth that really eats that consumes another mammals mammary secretions.
Yeah.
If you want milk, you can take milk from a dog, or all mammals secrete milk. They
Right.
chose a cow because you can get the most from them. But that's not a it's just not us. And if you look at places like sub-Saharan Africa where they don't have a lot of cows, they certainly don't have a whole lot of COVID either.
Yeah.
That's some of the problem. My thing is try to wean yourself away. Now they have plant based, and I'll get back to that because plant based is what they suggest all the way around. That should be your go to substantive diet, plant based. Now there you can put with in the Mediterranean diet, you can put a little meat on the plate or whatever you need to do. You can use it even to a little dairy, but the basis ought to be plant based. And if you do plant based, and if you can tend, if maybe you try this optimizing plan, and as you do the plant based, if you maybe you can then segue into vegan, because if you can do a vegan diet,
Mm-hmm.
you'll never have hypertension, you'll never have heart disease, and you'll never have cancer.
Wow. Wow. So speaking of milk, so the next questions are: what are your thoughts with oatmeal milk and almond milk?
That's excellent because that's plant based.
Okay.
It's
Excellent.
excellent. That's a great substitute. Towards this plant. The key is plant based. That's the key.
Right. Plant based. And explain when you say plant based, I want you to be very specific. Tell them exactly what you mean by plant based. We're
Anything
not
that's not
talking. You were not talking the cow eats the plant and we eat the cow.
No.
Explain plant based.
Plant-based is anything that does not contain animal products,
Hmm.
animal flesh, animal secretions, and that includes fish and everything else. No animal. You're not putting any animal product in. It's not part of your diet.
So Warren, why not fish?
Well, fish is a great protein, and we're looking at sources of protein, and so
Right,
now you want to know what protein you can have. You don't need any animal product to get your protein,
right,
but fish is excellent because the fish will give you, and certain fish will give you omega 3.
right.
Omega 3 is something that mitigates arthritis.
Hmm.
It's a fatty acid that mitigates arthritis, all sorts of other things that we suffer with. So you would all a fish, and I take an omega 3 capsule twice a day, every day,
Wow.
period. And let me give you my history on that. When I early in my when after my diagnosis, I was doing a lecture, and they happened to have they were doing some testing and some scanning and everything else. They
Sorry.
looked at they looked at my spine. I get bone uh, scans regularly,
Uh-huh.
annually. I had arthritis all the way down my spine. I used to get stiff necks and everything else. I started thinking about that, and I started doing a regimen of omega 3. They don't see it no more.
Hmm.
They don't see the arthritis no more, and I don't have it. And like I said, I'm 81 years old. This was happening around when I was in my 60s, and I swear by omega 3. I won't go a day without having it.
How much omega 3 do you take?
I I go to Walmart and get the bottle and get the best value. And I can't, or the number right off the top of my head, whatever's on sale. And
So,
I want to get the maximum amount. If they have CVS or somebody has 2 for 1 or something, I'll get what I think the maximum. I want the maximum amount. If I'm going to eat some salmon or tuna or something, I can eat a lot of that. Then that'll suffice. You don't really. That's what you want to put in your body.
right.
But if I can't, then I'll do. If they say take 2 pills, then I'll take 3 if I can't get the dose I want.
Okay.
But don't let the dose be the thing, and the dose has to be your personal thing. I don't like to talk about a dose
Okay.
like Vicky said. I'm not a doctor, but think about your dose. Think about during those 30 days of optimizing what makes you feel good. If you feel good, you want to continue along that path.
Right.
If you eat carbohydrates like fried potatoes, and you don't feel all that good after you eat it. You feel okay, but you don't feel great.
Right. Feel
Like you should
bloated.
after a meal.
Yeah,
You
you
feel
feel bloated.
bloated because your body's having problems digesting,
Yeah.
particularly if you do dairy, you eat ice cream, and now you're passing gas all the time and everything else. Your body can't handle it. So to me, that's the signal to stop. I truly believe my cancer came about. Breyers, I'm lactose intolerant. Breyers made a lactose free ice cream. I hadn't been able to eat ice cream for years. I tried that, and I love ice cream. And I was eating it every single day. And I happened to be in a study, a select study for prostate cancer. They were studying vitamin E and selenium. And during that time is when my cancer occurred, when
Hmm.
I was diagnosed. So I swear that was the cause. Now that
Wow.
might not be everybody's cause,
Right.
but I do a little bit of epidemiology work because I'm a food scientist. I
Mhm.
truly believe that was my cause. That's when I eliminated dairy from my diet.
Wow. So I have a backup question on the fish. So Mika's asking if the salmon is okay and absolutely no fish. I don't think that's what Warren said.
No, salmon is excellent.
Hmm.
Tuna is excellent. All fish, all to me, well, all for uh, There's a fish there they call it a trash fish that I don't agree with, and farm raised fish I don't agree with either. But any wild caught fish is probably better than any red meat or poultry. Any is better than any red meat or tilapia.
And it looks different. It
Sure.
looks completely different.
I think it's just a better and we're talking about the source of the protein.
Right.
Never mind the fish. Think about having specific grams of protein. That's the key. What get it down to essential nutrients.
Okay.
And when you look at the essential nutrients that you need, that's what you're talking about. So if you can get the highest quality protein that you can, that's what you strive for.
Okay, awesome. So since we're on vitamins, let's talk about vitamin D. I always have a lot of questions about how much vitamin D can you take, and does it supplement when we sit in the sun? You can't sit in the sun enough. Sitting in the sun is great, right? But you can't get enough of the sun right now, I don't think, to fight off COVID. I think you need to do a combination of things. What do you say, Warren?
Well, we're under a little misconception. We like to think that because we come from our ancestry is African and so forth and
Right.
so on,
Yeah.
that we actually, we get enough sun.
Mhm.
However, the part of the ultraviolet rays that we need, our melanin protects us from that because that also is carcinogenic. So we have to take a supplement, believe it or not. And you want a supplement. If you sit out in the sun and you really concentrate, you can feel that. And you need the sun and vitamin D to strengthen your immune system. If you never get any sun, you're going to have a weak immune system.
Yeah.
And the problem with that is you don't know your immune system is weak until you get sick.
And that's, what, unfortunate with everything. You really won't know until you're sick what you're dealing with. However, when you do know what it is, you should be the first one to fix it. I have a lot of people that said, "Oh, I'm a diabetic," yeah, but I'm still going to eat, Thanksgiving. And I always say, "Well, why would you plan your demise if you know you can't have the chocolate cakes and the sweet potato pies? You can have a little bit. You can have anything in moderation." But they were talking about, I'm going to my auntie house. I'm going to pick the cake up. I'm going here. I'm going to pick the rolls up. I'm going here. But it's just you in the house, so you're going to eat it. So why are you going to pick up all? And I'm not saying don't support anyone. I'm not saying don't get it. I'm saying have a plan, an alternative plan. Don't sit on the couch, because we all know this Thanksgiving is going to be different because we're not going to be together. So for a lot of us, that's depressing. And what do you do when you're depressed? You do three things: you cry, you drink, and you eat. And what we're trying to do is give you a better and alternative way of dealing with your stress and or depression these holidays, days that are coming. And we call them dark days because for some of us, not being with the family is a dark time. So you've got to think of alternative ways. You can have a slice of that cake. Just don't buy the entire cake, or slice it up and put it in the freezer. At least then, Warren, you'll have to thaw it out. You'll have to freeze it. You'll have to thaw it before you eat it. Maybe by the time it's thawed out, you won't want it. But at least cut it down and give your body a fighting chance. So, for those of you just tuning in, you're listening to IITG Season Sisters Speak. I'm your host, Victorianne Russell Walton, with our host, Warren Green. And we're talking about immune system and diabetes and helping you build yourself, okay, and build your immune system. So we've covered a lot. But vitamin D is one of the things that we want to talk about. How much vitamin D, Warren?
Well, I try not to be specific because
Right.
everybody is going to need as much, it's tailored to you.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think you can get enough sun, but then again, if you get a lot of, even with that, you need vitamin D to make everything else work because that's going to strengthen your immune system.
Right.
And like we said before, phytochemicals and so forth and so on in your diet is also, in a plant-based diet, is also going to strengthen your immune system and everything else. Now, things like dairy, there's things that if you consume them regularly, they're going to lead to your demise. You have to try to figure out how long you want to stay on this earth. If you have to have a dairy product every day and that's part of your daily routine, I guarantee you that's what's going to put you in the ground.
Wow.
It's unsustainable. Your body can't process it, and your body just can't process it. And every time you put it in your body, you're working your body. Like myself, if I have cancer, my body's busy fighting the cancer. I can't have it looking at something else and trying to figure out what it's supposed to do with dairy when I don't need it. That's for a baby cow,
Yeah.
for a calf. It's not for me. I
Right.
really don't need it. I don't need that. It's not part of my go-to nutrition that I have to have. And that's why I suggest at least give your body a break for 30 days. And if you like it, try it for 60 days. I
Yeah.
do it every year. I try to get and around the holidays, I get as lean as possible. I take a few slices of turkey. I love turkey. I'll take a few slices. Keep away from the skin because the skin has a lot of cholesterol. You don't want your body to have to work that either. You're trying to lessen lessen the strain on your body working this food because digestion is a hard job. So you want to aid it as much as you can. You want to get as much fiber in it, and that's why the sweet potatoes are excellent. You want to get it, and I say take a supplement with that too. Take a supplement with your fiber, so you can get as much fiber. 90% of this country doesn't get enough fiber, and if you don't get enough fiber, you're asking for type 2 diabetes and hypertension and blood and cardiac problems.
Wow. Wow. Well, that answered all of those questions.
Our
So,
old folks used to call it roughage. They
yeah,
were
right.
absolutely right.
Yep, roughage. So what are your thoughts about elderberry? That's the latest thing. It's always
All
the latest and
berries.
greatest.
I love berries.
Okay.
I have a berry, some kind of berry, strawberries, blueberries in my smoothies almost every day. And I do a smoothie every day. My smoothie is bananas because I don't get enough potassium. I know, but so I get bananas. But and and I'm hypertensive, so I know that part of that hypertension includes a diuretic. So I'm losing it's more than a water pill. It's taking away some potassium
Hmm.
too. So
Right.
I tried to put some back because I figured that my doctor didn't tell me this. I had to research it, and I realized that I had to start putting that back into my diet. So I do strawberries, I do pineapple, and I do bananas. That's my smoothie every day.
Wow. So, with us coming up on the winter months, are you going to use frozen or are you freezing them now for later?
I get frozen, and
Okay.
I buy my strawberries. Believe it or not, at Dollar Tree, they got $1 package. It's good for two smoothies. So I buy about 10 for the week,
Hmm.
and I'm 10, and that lasts me, two
And
3 weeks.
using frozen is okay.
Yeah, that's great. It makes you don't have to worry about freezing, putting ice in it. I just put the frozen berries, the bananas, and I use canned pineapples, crushed pineapples, or slice
Hmm.
whatever's on sale. I put it in a smoothie, and there it is, and it's cold. And if I feel like freezing it, that's my ice cream.
Yeah. Oh, wow. Okay. Well, because someone said you're not concerned about the contents in the frozen food.
Well, yeah, but it's all a trade-off. I know that I'm not getting really, if unless I'm going organic, I have to worry about all these other things. So I can't. So you
Right.
trade it off. I'm not no. But I know what I shouldn't put in my body, a lot of
Right.
sodium, a lot of this and that. And that's what you do. But you have to figure it out because you're going to see your doctor maybe, what, 15 minutes a month at
Yeah.
most. And you're really lucky if you do that. That's what, maybe 4 hours a year. You're
Yeah.
going to need a whole lot more. You're going to need more information. And so if you're watching this show, I can attest to the intellect that is. Well, you need to do your own reading. When you say you're fighting something, how are you fighting it if you handing it over to your doctor and letting him do it and you're going about your business? You're not fighting nothing. He's
Right.
fighting, and he's a salaried guy that don't remember you tomorrow.
Well, that's true. You have to be your own advocate, and you definitely have to fight your own
You have
battle.
to be your own doctor.
Yeah,
Doctors are only your consultants. They are your consultants.
right,
You run the show. You trigger the whole thing. They are not they give you the information that you need, and you act on the information that they give you, and
right,
as many as you can get. And the government, like Medicare or Medicaid, they'll underwrite it. They'll
right,
tell you when you need scans and prescriptions and so on. But you're the one. You trigger the whole process.
right.
You are in command. And so when you're saying you're fighting something, you're not really fighting it if you handing it to somebody else to fight. You're the one that's got to fight.
That's what I tell people all the time. You are your own advocate and you are your own warrior. So it is, oh my gosh, we're halfway through. Again, this is Victorianne Russell Walton, IITG Seasoned Sister Speak. We're talking about immune building and diabetes today. I have my man Warren with me. We're going to push pause to do some commercial breaks. Yes, I have commercials. So I'm just going to do some shout outs. We want to thank AmeriHealth Caritas for being an awesome sponsor of the show. We want to thank Glenda Kusar for giving us shouts out. We appreciate you very much. Our live commercials are not running today because of the weather. You know, it just takes one raindrop to drop everything down. So, but I do want to shout those out, and we'll put those on in the recording. We want to thank all of you who've called in that want to be a guest on the show. Starting next week, we will have guests coming back in, hopefully starting with Dr. Lenore Coleman, who is one of the head endocrinologists in the world, with Dr. Gavin, who was the doctors to the Obamas during their presidency. So we're looking forward to speaking with them, and along with Warren, to sharing and answering your questions. As always, we're every Thursday. We took two weeks off, and there were lots of recordings going on for you because I think I did 20 tapings last week and last month, and there were so many. I definitely wanted to share them, and I thank everybody for the opportunity to be a part of their talk blog or TV show or magazine write-ups. We have 3 magazine write-ups, and along with now hopefully doing some things with Warren over at Overture. We're very excited. So thank everyone, especially my husband, Harvey Walton, and my son, David, who, as you hear them, and Miss Garla Green, who's always backs Warren up as well. So thank you to our families and everyone that's watching and supporting. We're going to get to the questions. I see the questions on Facebook. Hi, everybody on Twitter and Instagram. We appreciate you. Michelle is joined, and there are a lot of, I see announcements going on with the election. Don't get too stressed out. Even though the presidency is changing, God still sits on the throne. That has not changed at all. So look to the right seat when you're looking to the seat. Don't look at the who's sitting in the presidency. You look to who's still sitting on the throne. You pay attention to that seat, and you'll be just fine. So we're dealing with diabetes and immune building. And thank you, Billy, for joining in. How to build yourself and how to keep your immune up and running. So, Warren, we're going to jump into it because I don't know how many questions we have. We're going to get to as many as we can. And here's a great statement. It says Warren spoke on African Americans having melanin skin, and that's not foolproof 100% protection. How is that not protection when we're Black? Really? Answer that, Warren. You get them before I get them.
Well, melanin, yeah, but it keeps out it. Some of this we need the sun. Some of it, like melanin, blocks ultraviolet rays, but ultraviolet rays are necessary to help your body immune system. So
Right.
we're not going to get it. It screens it, and that's okay. Sunscreen does the same thing. Period. So that's all I mean.
Right.
So it's not going to protect everything. But I noticed when I was doing some epidemiology stuff and looking at it, I wondered why the people in Africa, in fact, were not getting as many infections, COVID infections. And I wondered, but I don't know. I think it's more I know it's more their diet than it is the sun.
Wow.
Because other places, that get a lot of sun, also have high COVID. Like South America, they get a lot of high COVID infections,
Right.
but not Africa, and their temperatures are similar.
They are, and that is pretty amazing that they've been able to keep the numbers low. It is.
It's
I,
about their diet, but they do.
but speaking of diets too, Warren, how is it that the homeless numbers are not skyrocketing? They're together, they're outside in the elements, they're not really wearing masks. So how is it that the homeless population hasn't really been affected the way everyone else has?
Well, they're not getting a lot of dairy and stuff. They're not getting the things that we think are luxuries and we have to have. Pizza is the most popular food in the world. It's
Right.
probably it can't be healthy.
Wow.
There's nothing healthy about a pizza. It can't be healthy. If
Wow.
you because it's going to have dairy and it's going to have processed meat.
Yeah. Yeah. It has the two things you tell us to stay away from. But I've
Yeah.
often wondered that looking at the homeless, their numbers are so low. And it's like, wow, we're up here with masks and Lysol and bleach and Clorox and disinfectants and 99.9% UV lights. And they're just out there walking up and down the street.
Another little secret about the homeless is a lot of them are alcoholics.
Yeah.
And being an alcoholic, because your body, your immune system loves fermented stuff.
Hmm.
That's why the French and European countries have a glass of wine. That's what it's about. In fact, the holiest, the most religious ceremony in Christianity is communion,
Yeah.
and that includes wine,
Wine.
not grape juice. Wine. It's about wine, and it's they try to say, well, in the Middle East they drank a lot of wine because they didn't have a lot of water. I dismiss that. I think it's about the wine because your body loves fermented stuff.
Hmm. Okay.
Sauerkraut, body loves that.
We've talked about the fermented. For those of you tuning in, you're tuning into IITG Season Sister Speak. I'm Victorianne Russell Walton with Warren Green, and we're talking about building your immune and diabetes because it's Diabetes Awareness Month, and we're taking questions. So if you have any questions or comments, please type them in. We're definitely paying attention. We have quite a few to get through. But we're talking about the best diet for you. Well, not I don't want to call it a diet. The best food management for you,
Well,
especially during Thanksgiving. So let's get back to Thanksgiving dinner because we're coming up on that, and I already hear people talking about ordering their deep fried turkeys, and I'm like, wow, we're deep frying turkeys again, and ordering, again their pies and sugars and their cakes, anything in moderation. But turkey has something that's really good in the makeup of turkey. And it also makes you sleepy. So maybe you ought to make the kids a turkey sandwich when they start bouncing around. But let's talk about what that diet looks like. We've talked about sweet potatoes. You can definitely have candy yam sweet potatoes. You just have to alternate the diet. Sweet potatoes are a great source of protein and a great source of what else? More in calcium and omegas and all of those things, right?
well, again, and fiber is it's a high fiber diet, and
Fiber.
any vegetable or that or fruit that has a coloring in it
Mhm.
is beneficial.
Okay.
That's any of them.
Right. So that's what I was telling people. You just have to alter just
Well,
for a healthier you just have to make sure have red light, real light. You just have to make sure that you change your diet. Even if you're not a diabetic, two things are happening during this pandemic, Warren. People are either picking up weight or they're losing weight. One of the two is happening. So you definitely don't want to. There was a movie that was called Wally, and these people got shipped off. It's a cartoon. My son loves it. But at the end of the voyage, everyone was so fat from doing nothing and from just sitting around and having automatic food dropped off in front of your door. You don't even have to go get it. They'll drop it off. They'll make your grocery shopping. So we're not exercising as much. You've got to still exercise. You still have to eat healthy to maintain your immune system. Your body is really fighting hard, whether you know it or not. Your body is really fighting viruses and diseases and germs now more than ever. So you have to give, like Warren said, your body a fighting chance. And you have to give your body what it needs to fight. Your body can't fight off diseases with you sitting around eating candy and chocolate bars and pies. And I mean, trust me, I love a good coconut pie myself. I love a good slice of cake myself, but I'm not going to eat the entire cake. I can't eat the entire candy bar. You can have anything in moderation, but you can't go all ham and just say, forget it. I'm going to have it. I don't care. You've got to give your body a fighting chance. So, speaking of a fighting chance, Warren, my God, we've got 30 questions left. For Warren, Warren, okay, so yes, Warren is over 80. Warren, they don't believe you're over 80.
I was born in 1939, August the 26th, 1939.
And Vicky, do you mind telling your age? I don't mind telling my age. I'm 55. So, they say black don't crack. It doesn't. Look at Warren, look at me.
It's
It
got
doesn't.
to do, got everything has to do with your diet.
Exactly.
Everything has to
Everything.
do with your diet. I
And
look at things
exercising.
from a cellular perspective,
Yeah.
actually, and then I look at because DNA is part of your cellular things.
Right.
And when you start looking at things from a cellular point of view, then that kind of lets everything else falls into place. You can understand how life works if you look at it from cellular.
Right. Right.
When you
And
look at
and
your diet, and I do call it the diet, when you look
mhm,
at that and you're trying to determine what you want to put in your body to run this really sophisticated machine, then and so you want to break it down to what your essential nutrients are. And you can go to your phones or go online and look at what essential nutrients are, and then tailor your diet, your go-to, your substances, your staple to what essential nutrients are. If period. You X amount of protein, X amount of this, X amount of that. When you comply, when you give your body the things that it has to have, you won't have any cravings. You won't want any sweets. You won't want to eat this. You don't want additional salt. All of that is because your body's craving, because you've been negligent in your diet, and it's telling you, well, I need sodium, and so it'll remember that
somebody with questions.
it'll remember that you ate a potato chip, and so it'll say, well, go get some potato chips so I can get some iodine or sodium in me, because that's what my body needs. Well, you're going to fulfill all of that when you look at your essential nutrients.
It's funny you said that because that's one of the questions we have. My body is always craving salt. Why?
Well, that's because it's missing something, and you
Hmm.
have to figure out what that is.
Right.
Sodium is almost in everything,
Hmm.
so it's going to crave. So once, and I can't tell you specifically, but when you start optimizing, and it takes 28 days to break a habit.
Hmm.
Maybe some people could do it less, but in general, in 28 days, if you stop salting your food, and maybe I'm going to suffer through not using any salt at all for 28 days, I promise you, in the 29th day, everything will be too salty.
Okay. I'll take that. So, okay, that's a good question. So, as a caregiver, I am trying to break my mother, who's a breast cancer patient, from eating unhealthy. I tried to get her to eat smoothies. I caught her putting a cupcake in the smoothie. What sugar can I put in there to eliminate her sugar attacks?
Well, what's in the cupcake? Look at the ingredients, because that's, like I said, I like to look at cellular. Look at the ingredients there, see what it has, because my mother, I got into this when I was young. My mother used to eat Argo starch, and I
Mm-hmm.
couldn't understand why but she was pregnant. Well, she stayed pregnant. I'm the oldest of six, So, to me, in fact, I think I asked her, "Are you ever not going to be pregnant?" She was a little petite lady when she came up from North Carolina to New York, and then all of a sudden she was pregnant all the time. My mother was really a beautiful woman, but she was always pregnant. Man. But let's hit her. And because all of the kids, I'm 2 years older than my sister, 4 years older than my brother, 5 years older than another brother. But that's what happened. But she used to, so then when I started reading up on that and why that was, she was lacking some carbohydrates. I understood because she sacrificed everything for the children. She'd
Right.
give us whatever, and that was it. But that's what's happening. So, like I said, once you get into the essential nutrients and look at and try that for maybe 4 weeks, design it wherever way you can. You can
Mm-hmm.
go online and get everything, period. Like I said, turkey and chicken fried, all of that's good if you don't eat the skin or, and get it into moderation and get it into the smallest amounts that you can, period. You'll find that you won't gain any weight. You don't you cut down on some of the fat that's in your diet. It'll cut down your sodium, and once you do that, sugar. So, if I used to, my wife and I used to get maybe 4 or 5 pounds of sugar every time we went shopping. We had to get sugar. It was on sale. We're gonna get. Oh, we had 20, 10, 15 pounds in the house. Period. I use juice now because I know that fructose is processed much slower than the sugar that you're getting out, the granulated sugar. So I don't want that, or high fructose. I don't want that either. So I use that, and I use juice in my tea and everything else. And I drink a lot of tea. It's working very well for me. And I'm
Okay.
81.
Yeah. Yeah, 81, everybody. So that's a good segue into the next question. Building muscle. What do you think we should do to help build our muscles or assist us with building our muscle and not fat?
That's high quality protein. That's the
Okay.
only way you can build muscle. High quality protein. That's what you need. And if it's
So
going to have to be meat, it's got to be, you stay away from the cholesterol, skin, and high quality protein.
so what is high quality protein?
Well, like salmon, and the
Okay.
skin on fish is fine.
Okay.
Like lean beef, lean pork, lean chicken,
Okay. So lean.
lean.
So that's great because we have a question from Mika. It says, "Do you think it's healthy to cut out red meat?" She's trying to lose 30 pounds.
I
So what?
think it's I think it's essential. And now that we're having this COVID thing and they're importing, what we have an interesting phenomena in this country now because most of our stuff is imported. We don't
It
really
is.
do that.
Most of our
Now
food is
here
imported.
and here's what happened, and this has been happening for years since World
Tanya.
War II, all the way up to 2010. They eliminated the black farmer from the global food chain. In fact,
Yeah.
they eliminated the black farmer from America's food chain. And now you look at every place where they have high populations of black people, they have food deserts.
Yeah.
It's interesting. They got rid of 70,000 black farmers. The best farmers on the planet are the black farmers. And they systemically removed them. And I'll say the USDA, through their FSA agency, and I was there, and I know they did it.
Mm.
They removed us from the food chain. We don't grow anymore. We're not interested in growing. There is no, and another thing that's ominous and is frightening right now, they have truck drivers, the people that deliver the food, are talking about boycotting just because Trump lost. They're considering boycotting. So now there's going to be food shortages everywhere. And we're a victim to that because we have to beg people to feed us. That's insane. We have to start we have to start manufacturing our own food. It's
Yeah.
crazy that we're not in the food chain, the best farmers in the world. That doesn't make any sense.
Well, we're too bougie now to get out in the dirt. We're too bougie to get
No,
out.
it's not a matter of that. You got to grow horticulturalists. That's what it is. It's not.
But one, we don't know how to.
Well,
There's a
but
generational
we
gap.
knew we're the best. We
We
knew.
were. we
George
learned.
Washington Carver that's Tuskegee Institute. I
Right.
mean, we're not talking about generations ago, way
No,
generations.
no,
That's
I'm
just a few
saying that
years ago.
it was, but there's a generation that's been skipped. These babies now don't know how to grow.
They
They're
have no,
learning how
they
to.
don't need us for computers and stuff like that. We're not going to be the workforce. And they don't need us in this country no more. And Trump is proving that. We have to start growing. We don't have any leverage. If the only leverage we have is the vote, we don't have anything. We don't
We
have
don't.
leverage.
We
Reggie
don't.
Lewis out of Baltimore. He owned Beatrice Food. He was the last player in the food industry, and he died 30, 40 years ago. It's crazy. We don't have any
We don't.
representation. Huh?
We don't have any leverage, but we also don't have what we need to teach our babies. Some of our young babies are learning how to get out there, how to grow, and they're now understanding that it's a multi-billion-dollar industry. If, like you said, if you have dirt, you have money. You've said that a million times. But if we don't show them, if we don't teach them, yes, you can learn on YouTube. Yes, you can learn on Google, but there still has to be someone educating these babies on what to do and how to do
I
it.
think every church here that has land or to have a garden, they call it Victory Gardens. And let me say this, in the Bronx, they have an organization called the Bronx Green Machine.
Yeah.
It's incredible. Had nothing to do with me. My name is Warren, but I'm very proud of these people. These are high school kids that didn't know anything about growing anything, and now they export their food all over the world.
Yeah.
They set up their programs and stuff all over the world. These are high school kids, and
Yeah.
I was living in rural North Carolina, and we couldn't get these kids to grow anything, and they're growing it in the Bronx. That
Yeah.
makes no sense.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's not
Well,
to learn. There's nothing to learn. We innately, that is what we were brought to this country. We
right.
were brought here and they enslaved us and brought us here for our agriculture prowess. After World War II, 1 out of 7 farmers in this country was black, and now it's like 1 in every 150. And
Yeah.
then we wonder why we get all of these diseases that are dietary linked. It's all because now we're not growing our own food. We're not doing anything. And
We're not. We're not.
it's insane. It's unsustainable. And if you talk about genocide, that's genocide.
It is. It is. There are more food deserts and brown skin communities than
Sure.
anywhere else.
And
And
so
it and the grocery stores are horrible as well.
guess whose customer, these 70,000, because that was the part of the class action suit that
Right.
was settled in 2010,
Right.
that there was 70,000 black farmers.
Right.
They serviced a quarter of a million black folks and others, a
Right.
quarter of a million, which is right. That's about 5 to 1 for every
Right.
farmer. So,
Right.
and with that, if they eliminated then, well, how could you not have food deserts?
Yeah. Yeah, and it goes back to, us eating healthy and us doing what's best for us. And I cannot believe, we're 2 minutes out from our show. I'm Victorian Russell Walton. This is IITG, Season Sister Speak. I'm sorry, I forgot to give our number. 301-683-8690 is how you reach me. If you want to reach Warren, Warren is on Facebook. Warren Green, you type in the name and he's the first one that pops up. I promise you, you can always reach him through reaching out to us as well. Warren also is an excellent writer and guest speaker. So if you need him, you want him, reach out to him. He's definitely sitting at home with the conversation. So if you want someone to come in and speak to your group, he's definitely the guy. If you need a chronic disease expert, I'm your girl, 2-time breast cancer survivor, navigation expert. So I got a lot of titles. Look me up. Wife, child of God, mother, all of those things. So, I feel like sometimes by the time I get finished listing everything I am, you probably forgot my name. But if you're looking for us, you can definitely find us. For those who are on IG, we thank you for tuning in. For those that are on Twitter and Facebook, everyone, we thank you for tuning in. We love your support every Thursday. We're back now. We had to take 2 weeks because I was on so many other shows. I was backed up and I just needed one week for a break. But you can always find us on YouTube. Victorianne Russell Walton. We've got over 150 experts talking about different topics. So you can find us there and on our website, www.itsinthegenes.com. But you can also type in my name again, Victorianne Russell Walton. And I cannot believe it's 2 o'clock. Warren, I'm going to give you a minute to address the people. We didn't address all the questions, but I hope you gave you enough to be whole and healthy. And we'll come back next week on Thursday. So, Warren, what do you have for them?
I will say that you can. This Vicky's incredible, and I would say she's a non for profit. She's a 501c3. Consider that when you start making out your income taxes. This is a charity. You can provide that. That's a tax deduction. Consider that all the time. It's not commercial. There's no payment or nothing for that. She's a 501c3. She ought to be part of. She ought to be. Everybody that files taxes ought to include her organizations as one of their charities for sure. Should do
Warren,
that.
thank you.
And
It's
and
hot.
and
Thank you,
and if
Warren.
you feel like, and you can reach me if you got any questions that we didn't get to today, go to my email address, Warren G. 9241 at hotmail.com. I have nothing but time to answer it. And I can give you, even get into more detail. I'll give you a lot more detail than I can give you on the show. And
Yeah.
thank you for watching.
Yep. Thank you for watching. So again, Victorianne Russell Walton, IITG Season Sister Speak with, I always point the wrong way, with my man Warren Green. I hope that again we've given you enough for you to be whole and healthy until we meet up with you again next Thursday. But remember this. Diabetes or any chronic disease is not a death sentence. You can definitely turn your situation around with healthy eating and exercising. Never ever think that you've come to the end of your rope because of what a doctor says. Do you need to listen to them? Yes. But you also need to be your own advocate. This is also the point where I give you a tip for your child or your children. Right now, Halloween costumes are on sale, 90% off. Go and get your child or children some costumes and let them play. David is now an ant, or he'll be a construction truck, or tomorrow he will be a warrior. But you giving them something else they can do while they're sitting home during the pandemic, and they can also play and give you peace of mind of playing together. I don't know what David is going to have me dress up as. I think we're going to be warriors in about 30 minutes, but whatever that is, I welcome it. Because remember, if you're stressed out, think about how your children feel and how do you get them to talk to you and de-stress. Have a little playtime. And that goes with your husband as well, but that's another show. Throw on that costume and have some fun. So I thank everyone for tuning in to IITG Season Sister Speak. I know Warren's phone is ringing. Everybody has questions for us. So we look forward to seeing everybody next Thursday. So take care. Bye, Warren. Thank you.
Bye. See you
Bye,
next week.
Facebook. Thank you very much. Everyone take care.